Hey, how you doing today? Hope you are able to get out and do some riding. Last week, hope you were able to get out and ride a little bit here in the Midwest in Iowa. Um, we're still having a roller coaster season. 30 degrees some days, 80, 90 degrees other days. Basically, we had almost 3 seasons in 1 week, and I was able to ride my bike to work a couple days, and the second day, I believe it was, on the way home, there was probably 20, 25 mile an hour winds coming out of the north. And when I start riding home, the first direction I go is east from the town I work in. So, yeah, I had a crosswind, pretty strong, gusting to 40, 45 mile an hour, maybe even possibly 50 at times. And as I was riding along, I had about a 8 mile stretch before I turned south. And I got to thinking about the very first time I had ridden in the wind, and my first trip across Nebraska and North and South Dakota started out in Kansas, went across Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and headed up to the Canadian line. And going across Nebraska and South Dakota. North Dakota wasn't much better, but yeah, it was pretty windy. And I remember watching some of the experienced riders in front of us get blown halfway across the lane, and I did too. And there were times where it was hitting you full on right in the face, where you almost had to duck down like this to kind of get your breath back. It was almost like taking your breath away. You couldn't like breathe in coming into that wind that was so strong. So I just wanted to ask you if you've ever been blown halfway across the lane by a gust of wind. And I got to thinking back of what I learned. And I just want to say the windy days may not be perfect for riding. But I tell you what, if you're out there, you're going to get caught in the wind, especially if you're on a long trip. And you're still going to be able to lay the miles down. And those are still going to be memories you're going to be able to make. And like now, looking back at that time, I was just beginning and we got caught in that trip. And I look back and I kind of smile. It was blowing us around, and it kind of made things tense for a while. But looking back on it, it made me a better rider. I took a motorcycle safety course before I ever got my license. And I was 50 years old, almost 12 years ago already. Can you believe that? And the rider, the instructor, had been a rider for, probably 20, 25 years, maybe longer. He was an old Harley rider. And he always, I remember back to what he taught us. And even just a couple days ago when I was riding home, I thought about him talking about the press method. So I just had to laugh a little bit and say, yeah, okay, I remember those times. So yeah, you get all settled in, you're starting to feel good about riding, and a gust of wind comes along and pushes you halfway across your lane. Yep, and that'll wake you right up, and yeah, may even put a skid mark in the old shorts, if you know what I mean. So, and here in Iowa, wind isn't just part of the ride. Some days, like the other day coming home from work, it was the ride. Learning right away how to deal with it. With the open roads, the long straight highways, I jumped on the interstate and headed south, so the wind was behind me, so that made for smooth sailing then. But then you also have to contend with the semis, whether they're passing you or you're passing them, still makes for a gust one way or the other. So I'm here to tell you, the wind will test you, and not just your bike or your ability to ride your bike, but your mindset. And I've said other times, going out and riding, before you get on your bike, have the right mindset. And like I have a video, shameless plug, a while back about riding in the cities, riding around traffic, because sometimes if it's really windy, I ride through Des Moines. It's a straight shot to where I have to work rather than riding around on the interstate, which is much faster because interstate speeds. So, but if it's windy or cold, I'll ride straight through Des Moines and cut out the wind. And a lot of times I know the right route to take to avoid traffic, and depending on the time of day. And some people say, oh, if it's 40 degrees, it's 40 degrees. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. Well, I'm here to tell you, it does matter. If you're on the interstate and you're cruising at 70, look at the old wind chill, bike chill chart, and it does make a difference in riding at 40, 45 mile an hour through Des Moines, across Des Moines. It's much better than on an open road as far as your fingertips go and your extremities. So be in the right mindset. Sorry to get winded, but be in the right mindset. Don't panic with the gusts. Don't grip too tight on your brakes or your throttle or whatever, on your handlebars. And be careful so you don't overcorrect. And just don't fight your bike. And I'm going to talk a little bit how I ride with the wind and not against it, instead of riding against it. So if it's coming out of the north, I just ride south. That's it. If you can do that, I know you can't do that. So here I'm going to get into how you can stay loose, stay in control, and keep laying down the miles even when the conditions just aren't perfect, which in Iowa, they never seem to be perfect. But if you want to ride, you have to learn to ride with the wind, with the cold, everything else like that. So every ride's not going to be smooth, but every ride, in my opinion, is still worth it. Still worth it by a long shot. So I just want to kind of go over a couple things with you that I have learned. Yep, and I took some notes so I don't blabber on. So, the first thing my instructor was teaching us is, the wind's invisible, but you definitely feel everything about the wind. It's unpredictable, and it's unpredictable compared to the rain, compared to the cold. Get outside, you can see it's windy, but you can't predict those gusts that come out of nowhere. Like the cold, you can dress for it. The rain, you can put your windsuit on, but the wind changes and it's gusty depending on the direction you're headed in. And you're not always going to be headed one or two directions. On my way home, I did like 2 directions. So if I would have went the long way, I would have done 3. So fortunately, I was able to cut out the 3rd direction, which would have made me fight it a little bit more. So the steady winds and or the gusts, they come across in Iowa, the open fields. And we have plenty of long straightaways with open fields, cross bridges, and like I said earlier, semis passing you. Those are all places where it can amplify the wind, make it feel even stronger, especially the gusts. And it's not the steady winds, which you get used to where you're riding, but it's the gusts that'll move your bike. It'll move you when you're riding your bike if you're not prepared for it. So number 2, he taught us body positioning and your control. So you want to relax your grip. You don't want to have a death grip. You know, death grip equals worse control. Your hands cramp up. Makes riding no fun. You want to quit. You want to quit riding for the day. You want to, but if you're on a trip, you can't. It makes the whole trip maybe even a bad memory for you, and you don't want that. So relax your grip. Do a slight lean into the wind if you can. He also talked about keeping your knees close to the tank without pressing. That'll give you better stability, but don't press. Don't get too clenched, just like your wrists and your fingertips. You know, you don't want to be cramping up out there and getting your muscles all tight and tense, and then all of a sudden you're tired too, and that'll come. So let the bike move under you a little bit and don't fight it. The thing that he pressed upon me is relax your elbows and press with the hand into the wind. Keep your movements and everything you do smooth, not jerky. And you can't control the wind. You just kind of have to flow with it. So that day I was headed east. The wind was out of the north. And when I would feel a gust come up, I had a slight lean into the wind because, like I said, it was 20-25 steady. And then when the gust would come up, when my elbows relaxed a little bit, I would just push with my left hand into the wind and I rode that gust. And then when it quit, you just kind of relax, push back. So the other thing, you want to keep everything just smooth as you can. And your lane positioning strategy, that's another big thing. If you can, like it was coming from my left, so and a lot of times in your lane, a lot of guys tend to ride in the left hand position anyway. So if the wind's coming from your left, you know, ride more to the left side of your lane. Obviously, if it's wind's coming from your right side, ride a little bit more toward the right side of your lane. Give yourself some cushion. Give yourself some room to work with, that you're not going to get blown off the road or into another lane. And like I said, that just gives you plenty of room to maneuver. Okay. Then the next thing, and like I was talking about pressing with your hand into the wind and getting ready to press back, you have to watch for the wind traps. When you go across open farm fields or over the overpasses and the bridges, or gaps in between buildings, or passing a truck, or even being passed by a truck. The moment that I can't even read my own handwriting. So the moment you clear that semi, expect that big hit of wind. And like I said, in Iowa, you call it a grove. You're out on the open highway and you're riding that wind, and then you get behind a farmhouse, buildings, trees, what we call a grove. There's a lull in the wind, and so if you're leaning to the left and the wind's coming from the left, all of a sudden you go past that grove, past that farm, you kind of straighten up and it'll kind of make you move like a snake if you're not easy in pushing on your handlebars just a little bit, slow and steady, rather than trying to always just lean into it one way or another, and it just seems like you snake down the highway. So you have to be real gradual about it and just make sure you're aware that's going to happen. It's your mindset, like I said in the beginning. So, So they act like a windbreak. I learned So I learned over the years, when I was very young, I had a Jeep CJ, and those things were light as can be, and I'd be steering into the wind. You get behind a grove, you would go like this, and then You get past the Grove or past the semi, and then all of a sudden you'd be like this again. So the next thing is your speed management. Know your ability, know your comfort zone, and know where to stay safe. Slowing down gives you more reaction time. The higher speeds plus the wind make it a little more unstable, more instability. And there's no shame in rolling off your throttle. The wind doesn't care about your ego, and when it comes to safety, all I want is for everybody to get home in one piece, and I'm sure your family feels the same way. So if it's better to slow down, take a few more breaks, what have you, please do that. Be safe out there. We all just want a great ride that we could remember and maybe a few years down the road laugh about, gain some experience off of, and learn how to ride a little better through the wind, through the rain, through the cold, through the heat, all that good stuff. So your grip and your counter steering awareness. Always have light pressure on the handlebars. Do smooth, small inputs, and avoid overcorrecting. As the wind pushes you, gently counter steer. Try never to jerk your handlebars or lean as quick as you can one way or the other. So then the next thing is your gear and your bike setup. Windshield, like I have on my Road Glide here, can be a big help. Pushes the wind up and over if you're heading into the wind. A heavier bike seems to feel like it handles a little better. My first bike was a much lighter bike, and it seemed like it got pushed around quite a bit more. But even the big bikes, on that trip, we had plenty of guys that had Road Glides, Street Glides, Electric Glides, and they got pushed around a little bit. And when I first started riding, I was like, I'm not paying Harley's prices for their gear, you know. So I got a jacket, and I was like, well, this will be good enough. And I get going down the road, and 5 miles down the road, I looked like the Michelin Man. It was all ballooned up, and it was, I mean, just making all kinds of noise, flapping, and it was so bowed out to here. I was like, okay, this jacket isn't gonna work. So spend the money. You just have to get quality gear. And your back, don't have loose gear like your jacket, like I just said, jackets, backpacks, things like that. They'll flap in the wind and just make things uncomfortable. Can also get caught in the wind, and it's just unsafe. So it's all about having a mental, like I said in the very beginning, it's all about having a mental game and your preparedness. Stay loose, not tense. Expect the gusts instead of reacting to them. If you're reacting to them, you're late. You're going to get blown around. You know, when you first take off, yeah, there may be a gust, but if it's strong winds, you know, you're already taking the precautions. And if you've been around a little while, you know the gusts are going to be coming at any time. So, and experience is what gets you the confidence. Now I can laugh about it. Now I can say, yeah, I was kind of dumb and just kind of weaving and leaning every which way in the beginning. But experience, I've only been riding 12 years, and but I've logged quite a few miles over those years. And I'm not the best rider, but hopefully I can help somebody out there, help you maybe if you need a little help, and maybe give you some tips. So remember, riding is 50% wind riding is 50% skill and 50% staying calm with the bike's movements. So stay calm, stay relaxed, do the hand press method, small, smooth inputs at all times, and you have a safe trip. Talk to you later.